All right, so this is like my main scaling roadmap that I follow when I'm scaling a winner. And as I've mentioned before, like all your money, or like a lot of your money will be made scaling into lookalike audiences. And what you want to do is you want to create lots and lots of different lookalike audiences, and then you want to scale the highest performing lookalike audiences at the ad set level, right? So this roadmap here is sort of broken up into two sections, and I'll upload this as an image in the description of this video. But yeah, so this is basically broken up into two levels, right? So we've got the upper quadrant and the lower quadrant, right? The lower quadrant down here. So with this upper quadrant, this is what I will do first, right? So I will always attempt to scale into lookalike audiences within the US, right? So these are my lookalike audiences here. We've got post engagers. This should be video. So we've got post engagers, 95-second video viewers, ad savers, view content of the product, add to cart of the product, and purchase of the product, right? So they're my main lookalike audiences that I'll always start off and scale into. And the ones that I'll scale into first are usually the view content lookalikes, right? So I've got these numbers up here. So 300 fires, 250, 150 fires. So these fires are when you have an optimal amount to build a lookalike audience off whatever the lookalike audience below it is, right? So in saying that, 300 plus fires is from my testing what I believe to be the optimal number of fires to make a good lookalike, a strong audience from, right? But it's fine if it's under 300 fires, right? Like if it's like around like 250 to 300, it's fine. Like you can even like give it a go at around 200, right? So like these are just like the optimal, but you can create lookalike audiences if it's below this amount, right? But this here is just a guideline to tell you when it's like an optimal amount to create, right? So if you see below these lookalike audiences, all these are the same, right? So all these percentages are the same. So what I do, right, is I'll create a 1% lookalike, a 1 to 2% lookalike, 3 to 4%, a 4 to 5%, a 1 to 5%, and a 6 to 10%, right? So these audiences on the top line don't overlap, right? But if this audience and this audience combined, this 1 to 5% would actually overlap, right? So what I do is I'll always, when I first build my lookalike audiences, I'll always start with 1%, 1 to 2%, 3 to 4%, and 4 to 5%. These 1%, these 1 to 5% and 6 to 10%, I'll create a bit later. But when I first attempt to scale, I'll always start off building these lookalike audiences, right? So these are the same for each lookalike audience. So it's a standard thing that I do, and I'll show you how to create an advanced lookalike, right? So you want to go into your ads manager, and let's say we wanted to create one of those advanced lookalikes off this teddy bear VC, right? So the product page of a teddy bear. We go action, create lookalike audience. And you want to go show advanced options, right? And you want to go 4. Yeah? So now this is what happens, right? So you're creating a 1% lookalike here, a 1 to 2% lookalike, a 2 to 3% lookalike, and a 3 to 4% lookalike. And the beauty of doing this is that this 1% lookalike here won't include any of the people in these 1 to 2, 2 to 3, or 3 to 4% lookalikes. Same thing goes for here. If you create a lookalike that is 2 to 3%, it won't include any people that are in the 3 to 4% or in the 0 to 1% or the 1 to 2%. So I'd set it to United States. What happens is this will create 4 separate audiences, right? So you've got the audiences down here that it'll create. It'll create the 1%, 1 to 2%, 2 to 3, and 3 to 4. So you create audience, right? So that's what I'd do. I can't create this because it actually isn't like a live product, but that's what you do. And I'll create those lookalikes based off each custom audience here. So these 3 types of LLAs will work well, in my experience, on 250 fires as well. So I'm just going to add that down here, right? So once you have 250 fires of these custom audiences, go ahead and create lookalikes off them. So that's the first way to scale them. Then what happens is when you create those lookalike audiences, you want to launch $40 budget WC campaigns optimized for custom conversion purchase. And what happens is when you go in and launch like a $40 WC campaign to each one of these lookalike audiences, what happens is like sometimes that like the 1% isn't profitable and it ends up being like the 3 to 4% that is profitable. Or sometimes it ends up being like the 1% is profitable and like the 4 to 5% is profitable and you just kill the other ones. So it's really the process of elimination. You want to launch your WC campaigns to each one of these and maybe like one will be profitable, two will be profitable, or sometimes if you have like a real serious winner that you're gonna do big revenue numbers from, every single one of these audiences will be profitable. And so when you start to build up pixel data from these WC campaigns, that's when you can go ahead and create these bigger, you can launch ad sets to these bigger custom lookalike audiences here. So a lot of people always worry about audience overlap. And I'm never too concerned about audience overlap. It never really affects my campaigns. Like I've had plenty of campaigns that essentially would be overlapping indirectly because I'm running from the same ad account, but it never really affects the campaign that much because what I do, right, is when I create an ad set, right, is that especially if it's a video campaign and I launch a new ad set, I'll make sure that I exclude 3-second video viewers of the ad, right? So anyone who's seen 3 seconds of the ad, I'll exclude from my targeting, right? So that means if it reduces the audience overlap so much because if someone has watched the ad for 3 seconds, they're not going to see the ad again. And if someone has watched the ad for less than 3 seconds, they will be served the ad again, but it's okay because they haven't seen the ad before. So that's my little tip or my strategy that I use to reduce audience overlap. And to take it a step further, what you also have to do, especially when you launch to lookalike audiences, make sure that you always exclude number 1, purchases, and number 2, 3-second viewers, and number 3, post engagers. So anyone who's engaged with the post, right? So post engagers and 3-second viewers. So always exclude them.